Welcome to round 2 of this little experiment. Now, what is it that I'm working on? I am trying to create a little bit of a runner in Unity using Playmaker. And what am I going to be doing in round 2? Well, I'm going to start to try to create a little bit of level generation. So I'm going to create these platforms, and then in that I want to create those in an array, and then in the array I want to then pull out from the array and then put that platform onto the scene. And then after I've done that, I'm going to have that platform move, and then just have these things continually generate on screen. And then once they move off screen, then I'm going to destroy those game objects. So that's the experiment. That's what I'm going to try. Hey, I'm Jerry from Bliz Studio, the creator of the Apple featured game Trixel Rocket. If you like my tutorial series and these experiments that I'm posting, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and that little bell icon down there so you know when the next video is available. Now, if you're ready to experiment with me, let's go. Okay, so here we are back in Unity. And I want to play this just so we can see what we've accomplished in the last video. So again, this is just an experiment. I'm just playing around with some things I haven't done before. So what I have here is a container. And in that container, I just have a cube that has some movement applied to it. And then it's just looping through an animation. So it kind of looks like it's generated, but it's really not. It's just 4 cubes that are just moving, then they're just reset. So I'm going to play with actually creating some real levels or some real platforms. But I have a container that contains those cubes, and I'm able to move that when I click and drag my cursor. So that's kind of the basis of what I want to play with. Now the cubes are going to be replaced by some cylinders. So I want this to be kind of a rounded world. But that's kind of where we're at. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to go ahead and create some platforms. And what I'm going to do is to go ahead and create a new empty. And I want to create an empty because it's going to be the basis of the platform. And then I'm going to put some content inside of that empty. And I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to have that be a new prefab. Okay, so here's what we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and call this platform. And then I'm going to, if you don't have ProBuilder installed, ProBuilder is a way for you to accomplish and create 3D game objects within Unity. It's part of the Unity game engine now. If you do not have it installed, you can go to Window and Package Manager. And then I was on ProBuilder, but if you don't have it up, you can go ahead and just type in ProBuilder, and you can see that it's right there. You click on it, and then you'll have the install option. I already have it installed in my project, so I don't have to worry about it. But if you don't have it installed, click on install. It'll download and add it to your project. Then we can go ahead and start using it. So up in the tools section of my UI, you can see that I have ProBuilder. So I'm going to go ahead and click on ProBuilder and ProBuilder window. And then I've got this option here. And it's going to give me some options. Let me just do this. I'm going to go ahead and just take this, and I will add it maybe to my project window. And there we go. So I've got the project, or the ProBuilder UI attached to my main UI. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click New Shape. And if I click on the plus, I've got the new shape tool added. And you can see that by default has added a cube, but I don't want a cube. I want to have a cylinder. So the idea is that I'm going to have this cylinder, and I'm going to rotate it, and I think I'm going to make it bigger so that as you rotate the main container, that you'll have the cylinder and it's going to have platforms, you know, kind of, or obstacles sticking out of it. And then you'll be able to rotate this whole thing with these obstacles to avoid them. Anyway, that's the idea. So let's see if we can make that work. So you can see that I have the cylinder here. I want to go ahead and increase the radius. So the radius is, again, from the center point to the edge. And I'm gonna make that be 2. So then my platform is actually 4 units wide. And the number of sides, let me go ahead and just move that. I'm gonna go in here and just rotate around so you can kind of see what I'm dealing with. You can see that I have 8 sides to this game object, but I wanna make it a lot smoother. So I need to have a few more sides. So let's maybe make that 20. And then it looks a little more round, so that's good. Height wise, I'm gonna eventually turn this on its side, so I'm gonna flip it like that. And I want to go ahead and make this, let's say 3. See what that looks like. And it looks pretty big, but I think it's gonna work out the way I want it to. Okay. Again, this is just an experiment, so let's call that good. I'm gonna go ahead and hit build, and then I can go ahead and close this shape window. And then I want to take the cylinder and I'm gonna rotate it. So first, I want the center point to be within the center of the game object. And I'm gonna rotate this on the x-axis, so that's kind of across, so it's gonna go like that. And let's rotate it 90 degrees. Yeah, that works, I think. I wanna have this be a child object of platform, because platform is kind of the container that's going to contain this thing. And then I want to center both my platform and my cylinder. And then my cylinder, I need to zero that within the platform container. And so I need to figure out exactly where that container's at, because it's definitely not centered on where I want it to be. Is my platform container, that's 0 position. So I'm gonna need to kind of figure some things out here to make this exactly centered. So let's maybe kind of position that. Let's do 2. And I think that looks pretty good. We'll play around with it a little bit more here shortly. Okay, so I have my first kind of platform level done. I'm gonna be adding more to it, I think. This is just the basis that I can go off of. Okay, so I have a prefabs folder, and I'm gonna take this prefabs folder, and this is where I'm gonna store all of my levels, or all my platforms, or whatever you wanna call these things. So I'm gonna take and drag that over into my prefabs. And then now you can see that the game object has turned blue, and then I see a version of it over here in this prefabs. And the cool thing is I can drag as many of those out as I want to. So I'm using one instance of it for many things, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this in my game scene. Actually, let's undo that real quick, because I want to go ahead and make this thing move. So I need to add an FSM to this platform. So I'm gonna double click on the prefab platform, just because I've created a prefab for it, and I want that FSM to be attached specifically to this prefab so that I can go ahead and use it over and over. And what I want to do is to make this thing, I don't want to be 2D. I want to go ahead and make this thing move towards me, okay? In the past video, I've used the iTween move to kind of like make those cubes do a little loop. In this case, I don't want it to loop. I want it to just come towards me, period. And so instead of an iTween move, I think I'm going to use translate. Translate. There we go. Okay, so I need to create an FSM on this platform. So add FSM. And we'll just call this move platform. Cool. And then I'm going to do a translate. And so translate, I can say, hey, move this on a specific axis or multiple axis. In this case, the Z axis, because I want it to move towards me. So let's do this. I'm gonna make this move in the Z. And I can either uncheck the variables and then hard code in a number, or what's better yet is for me to use a variable. Again, a variable is where you can store information. And I'm gonna go ahead and create a new global variable versus just a variable. The reason I want there to be a global variable is because I want to be able to affect all of those at once. And if I want to change the number, as opposed to going into each of the platforms to then change the number, I have one number that I can then change. So I can, if I want to speed up that throughout the game, so go faster and faster, or slow it down, based on time, or whatever, I can go ahead and just update that one number and it affects all the platforms. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new global, and we'll call this platform speed. So I have a new global variable. So if I go to Playmaker and editor windows, you can see global variables is an option there. And you can see that I now have a platform speed, and it is a float variable. So if I select it, currently right now the speed is 0. Of course, that's not gonna go anywhere. So let's go ahead and change the number of that to 1. And then let's see what else we want to do. We want to make sure per second in every frame. So what it's going to do is move 1 unit every second, per second. Yeah, so it's going to move 1 unit per second. So let's give that a test just to see what that looks like. So I'm going to go back to my scene, and I do have my platform in there. And you can see that the FSM is attached to it because it has that little red icon. So let's go play. And let's see what happens. All my cubes are going all over the place. And my platform is moving away from me. So that's telling me that I have my number in the wrong direction. So instead of a value of 1, we want to have it be a value of -1. So it's going to move in the opposite direction. So make that a -1, and then let's, I'm gonna turn these cubes off real quick so those aren't in the way. And there we go, that looks pretty good. That's exactly what I want. Okay, so that part is working. I am going to, let's see, what do I wanna do? I know that the platform is gonna be too high, so I need to move the whole container down. So let's just do that real quick. I'm gonna take the position of my main container, the thing that I'm rotating. I'm gonna push that down. Oops, I don't have my platform in there. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop that platform in my platform container and then move that down. And then let's see, go to our game. See what that looks like. And that might be just a little bit low. Let's move that up just a little bit. Let's maybe make it a -1. And then I can always play with the camera if I need to, camera angle. Oh yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. Cool. All right, so I have a platform that's moving towards me, and I have it inside of my container, although I'm going to have to make some changes. But that gives me the basis of where to start. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this platform. And I'm gonna just leave my cubes to be off. Let's go ahead and delete those anyway. All right, so now I need to go ahead and create a generator. So what I need to do is I need to create a spawn point. So the spawn point is where the game objects are going to be created. So I'm going to take that prefab that I have there, put it on the screen, and then when it's on the screen, it's going to just automatically start moving because I have that translate FSM attached to it. And then every so many seconds, I'll drop in another one, and then I'll drop in another one. I'll drop in another one. So what I'm gonna do is just test this with just this one, but then I need to create the others that I can do that with. Okay, so here I need to first create an array. And what I want to do for the generation of the levels is to create an empty game object that's going to be a manager. So again, I have my little managers kind of folder here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new empty. And I'm going to call this level, let's call this platform generator. Cool. All right, so now that I have that done, I can go ahead and start to play around with creating the level. So I know that you need to add an FSM, and we'll call this, oops, don't want to call it X, I want to call it create. I'm going to call this create level, or create platform. All right, so that's going to start to create the platform. There's no actions in here yet, but we'll get there. So the first thing I need to do is to create an array. Now, array, again, it's a type of variable. It's going to contain information. So in this case, this array is going to contain game objects. So in the case of the platforms, it's going to contain those platforms. So right now, it's going to only contain one, but eventually I'll have more in there and I can make that array bigger. And what's going to happen, hopefully, is that I'm going to pull I'm going to pull those levels out randomly. So if I create a bunch of them, I can pull one out and just throw it on the screen, pull one out, throw it on the screen, pull one out, throw it on the screen. And it's going to pull randomly, or I can have it pull 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or I can, do randomly. Anyway, so what I want to do is to go ahead and make the array. So I'm going to go to variables, and here we've got the type of variable. By default it says float, but there is a big long list which you cannot see because it's off the screen. But towards the very bottom there's one that's an option of array. So here you can see we've got array, and I'm going to call this platforms, and I created that. And then you can see what is the array type. So just like you can create different types of variables, you can create different types of arrays, or what that array contains. And in this case, I'm going to have it contain game objects. And right now the size of the list is 0, so there's nothing in there. But I want to go ahead and put at least one game object in there, which is that one platform that we have up there. So I'm going to make that to be 1. And then here you can see we've got element 0. So what's the one item that we have in our list? Well, I'm going to take that platform and drag that over into my list. Boom, there we go. So when I pull from this array, it's going to pull that one platform. Cool. All right, so we have the array set up, or the beginnings of it anyway. So I still haven't created anything yet. I need to go to my platform container, and I need to create a spawn point. So where does this thing get put on the screen? So I'm going to create a spawn point inside of my platform container. So let's see, create an empty game object, and I'll call this spawn point. And it's going to be 0, 0, 0, which is perfectly fine. And then I'm also probably going to push it back in space so that the platforms are created further away from me. And then because they're moving towards me, I want to create them far out in space and move them towards me. But we'll figure out exactly how far in a bit. Okay, so I've got the platform spawn point created. I'm going to go back to my platform generator, and I need to start creating some actions. So first I need to do a array get random. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to pull from that array. So I put array get random, and then what array is it that we're pulling from? Because you can have more than one. I've created the platforms array. So there we go. There's that option. So I'm going to pull out that game object, and I need to store it inside of a variable. So it's saying, hey, here's this platform. Then let's do something with it. So I'm going to create a new variable, and let's call it selected platform. Okay. And then you've got some options here. So you can have no repeat. So if you don't ever want to have that one platform ever selected again. So let's say you have 100 platforms and you'll only want to be able to pull from platform 20 once. Well, you can say no repeat and it'll never pull that platform again. So that's kind of cool. All right, so now that we have that done, I need to go ahead and create a game object. So create game object. So here we go, create game object. And what is it we want to create? I'm going to create the selected platform. So I've taken the platform from the array, I'm storing that in a variable, and then now I can say, hey, here's the platform that we want to create. Let's create it. Okay. And then we've got the option of spawn point. We create a spawn point up here. So we just need to drag that down into our spawn point. So I'm going to take from the array one platform, and then I'm going to create that, and I'm going to stick it on the scene wherever that spawn point's at. Cool. And then I think everything else is good. Let's play with that. The other thing that I want to do, let's see, let's give this a test real quick just to see what's happening. Boom, yeah, that worked. Okay, the position is wrong. Let me just play that again. Okay, so I see that it created, but it didn't create it inside of my platform container. So I know I need to set the parent of that game object as the container because I want it to be inside of it because that's the thing that I'm rotating. So let's go and set parent. Boom, there we go. And what game object do I want to set as the parent? I want a specific game object, and I'm going to use the selected platform. Again, here we're taking a platform, we've stored the name of that platform in selected platform, and then we're going to use that as the game object that we want to then parent to the platform container. So, and then here we can drag in what platform or what. So here we can drag in what the parent we want it to be or we want it to use. So I'm going to drag platform container over here, and so then it'll create inside of that. So let's go and give that a test. Yep. Nope. Okay, that didn't work. So let's see. Okay, so it spawned it, and it's not throwing it inside of my platform container. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and set a variable to call this, and let's just call it the platform. And then what we'll do is maybe we'll use the selected, instead of selected platform, we're going to use the platform, and let's see if that works. Yeah, there we go. So that worked. Okay, so what I did was I created so I'm pulling from the array, storing that in a name, then I'm using the create game object to then put that object in the scene. I'm saving that game object, letting the array know what or letting my game know what that game object is. And I stored that as the platform. And then I can say, hey, make the platform a child object of my platform container. Cool. So that works. Now the game object's not in the right spot, so we kind of need to play with that a little bit. So there's a couple different ways we can do that. Now I think what I'm going to do is to change the spawn point position. So let's see, I need to move it over. So hopefully I just need to move that over by 2 units, which is half the distance of the cylinder. So we'll see if that works. Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yes. All right, so that works. Hey. All right, so what do we do next? Yeah, what do we do next? I'm playing around here. Take some drink of tea. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. What I have going on right now is that I have the platform generated and moved on screen, but I don't have another one generated on screen. So what I need to do is go back to my platform generator, and then after it's done doing that, I need to wait for just a little bit, and I think then create another one. So let's do this. I'm going to add a new state, and I'll call this wait, because I don't want it to just like continually put one on the screen really fast. I need to wait a little bit for that first one to move kind of out of the way, then create another one. So I'm going to do a wait, and I just called this wait, but I need to actually put a wait action in there. So I can do a wait, and let's go and add a finished transition. So when it's done grabbing from the array, creating the game object, setting it to the parent of the platform container, I want to go over to wait for a certain period of time. So right now it's the cylinder is three units long, and it moves at one frame or 1 unit a second. And so I should wait for 3 seconds before the next one is created, I think. So here we go. We're going to wait for 3 seconds. And then when that's done, let's go ahead and add a finished transition. We're going to go back and then create another one. So let's give this a test to see if that works. So 1, 2, 3. Boom, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So there we go. We now have those being created. Now, I think the spawn point needs to be pushed back just a little bit further. So let's do this. I'm going to push this back in Z space. So this is far away from me. So let's go, because we're doing 3 in units of 3, because that's the length of the cylinder. I'm going to go, let's see, maybe back 6. So that's pushing my spawn point back. So hopefully they're created further away from me. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That works. Cool. So the next problem I have is that right now, you can see that right now I'm creating these game objects, and then it's just going to continually build up. So what I need to do is actually destroy them once they're off the screen. So let's go back into our platform. Okay, so now what I need to do is to go ahead and add a destroyer. So when the platform hits another game object, then it'll delete that particular platform. And I'm gonna have that be off screen. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new 3D game object just so I can see it. So it's just a cube, and kind of put that where, let's see, zero that out, and then I'm gonna we'll leave it there for the moment, and then I'm gonna go ahead and And then I need to go ahead and give this a tag. So I'm going to call this destroyer. So I'm going to add tag and click plus and add tag. I'm going to call this destroyer. Cool. All right. So now that I've named this, or I've created a tag, I need to go ahead and then click on the cube, then add the tag to that cube. So now it has a tag of destroyer. I'm going to also go ahead and just give it a name of destroyer. Destroyer. Cool. So that's there in my scene. And then I'm going to go to my platform. And in the platform, so currently the state has the platform moving, but then I also need to add a check to it to see, hey, has this platform hit the destroyer? If it has, then I'm going to destroy it. Okay, so I'm going to destroy self. So I need to, let's see, do a trigger event. Trigger event. There we go. And if the owner, so this platform itself, on trigger enter, so when it's connected with another game object, and then with the tag of destroyer, so when it's hit that cube, then I'm going to send an event, which is going to be destroy self, and I just need to name that event, destroy self, create an event, and it's saying, hey, you don't have that transition over here. So I can go ahead and click there. So I've got that. The other thing it says is I need a rigid body. So let's go ahead and click that. And I need to add to my platform, I need to add a rigid body and a collider. So here's my rigid body. And in my rigid body, by default, gravity is turned on. So I'm going to turn that off. And then I also want to add a collider. Box collider is perfectly fine. And then what I'm going to do is have it so where that collider is just the shape of the, about the size of the game object itself. So I know that the width of this is 4, height is 4, and then the Z is, it's 1 deep, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't really matter. It's just whenever those two boxes connect is when I'm going to destroy. So I need to change the position of this though. So I'm going to move this over hopefully by 2, so -2. Yep. Cool. And let's see where that's at. And then we can position this so it's at the beginning of that game object. Or maybe we'll do it at the end. So that way it's kind of like, once it's kind of a little bit off screen, that's when we're going to destroy it. Okay, so that works. So I have a transition for destroy self, but so I need to create a state for destroy self. So I'm going to add state, we'll call this destroy self, and then transition over to that state. And in this state, what is it we want to do? Well, we want to destroy self. So let's go destroy self. There we go. There's our option. And then we also have the option here of detach children. Well, I am going to attach some other game objects, but I don't want those two to be detached. I want those to be destroyed as well. So that is perfectly fine. And then, yep, we've got our trigger event set up. And if we touch destroyer, then we're going to go to the destroy self transition, and that transition is going to take us over to destroy self, where we have the action that says destroy self. Cool. So hopefully that should work. So let's go and play. I'll go back to our scene here real quick, and nope, that's not working. Okay, so I need to do something here. I've got box collider, is trigger. So I need to have this box collider be a trigger event. So it's not gonna recognize when those two connect unless it's a trigger. So let's give that a test. Thought something was a little funky there. Boom, there we go. That's exactly the way I want it. So let's make sure that that is off screen. Okay, so what I need to do is to move this destroyer box back a bit. So this way so it's off screen. We're rotating back and forth. Yeah, and it's getting destroyed, and you can see where it happens right there. So I need to move that box back just a touch more. So let's just go a -4, and that should get it, I think. If not, we can move it back even just a little bit further. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what we want. Cool. All right, now that we have that done, I need to create some platforms. So what I'm gonna do is go over to my prefab that I have set up here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just rename this to platform 1. I'm gonna have to change my array just a little bit, but we'll call this platform 1. I'm gonna double click in there, and I'm just gonna create a couple of these platforms just so we can test it to see how that works. I want to, let's see, I'm gonna go here, and I'm just gonna create some cubes just so that we have something to see on the screen. And you know, I want to make these pro builders. So I've got my pro builder window. I'm going to create a new shape, and that shape is going to be, let's see, a prism maybe. Yeah, so it looks like a little spike, and we'll go ahead and build. I think that's perfectly fine. I can go ahead and get rid of that shape window, and then here's my prism. I am going to need to have these be triggers too eventually, so we might as well go ahead and is trigger, and then I'm going to move this to where it's at the edge of my game object here. So not in and out, so let's see where we're at. So it's at the back. I think that's fine. Let's maybe move it like where it's at, kind of at that line, and then I'm going to move it up so it's kind of sticking out just a little bit. Yeah, this works. There we go. Okay, so that works. I'm gonna go ahead and maybe put a couple more of these and just duplicate this. And I just need to rotate it. Nope, not that axis. I'm gonna rotate that on the Z axis. And then I will move this down into place. And I'm gonna go into 2D mode, that way I can see it better from the side. And yeah, that looks good. And let's add one more to that as well. Cool, we'll call that one done. All right, so now the next thing I need to do is to take that, and I'm gonna use that. So let's go back here. I'm gonna duplicate that. So Command D. So I have a platform 2 now. Go ahead and go into that one. And then I'm gonna take these and maybe just rotate them just a little bit in a different spot. Let's see here. Go back into 2D mode here. Something like that. Let's move this one a little bit. Rotate that a little bit on the Z. Yeah, I think that looks good. So now I have 2 platforms. Let's just add one more just so we can have a little more variety. And we'll do this. We'll duplicate this platform. So now I have platform 3. So I'll duplicate and go into that. And then I just need to move these spikes just a little bit. So we have some variety. Cool. All right, so I think that works. Now I have 3 platforms, and I can do this all day long, but I'm not gonna worry about it. So I'm gonna go back to my scene, and in my platform generator, here's where I have the array. So if I go to my platforms, you can see my array here. And I've got platform 1 in there, but I need to have an array with 3 in it. So I'm going to hit the size of the array. So that's the number of game objects I can have in there. And you can see that now I have 3 places to add more levels. So by default, it's just taking whatever was the first one and just duplicating it. But I can now go ahead and drag platform 2 and then platform 3. So then in our create platform, again, our array is get random. So it's going to get those out of that array randomly. So sometimes it might pull 1, sometimes it might pull 3, sometimes it might pull 2. And then it'll just go and randomly pull from that array. So now, hopefully, let's give this a test, and I should have some platforms that are generated, and each time it's going to pull a different platform. And let's see how this works. Go to my scene view here. Yeah, there we go. So here's platform, whatever that is, and yeah, platform 1, platform 3. And let's go back to our game view. Yeah, there we go. So now you can see that we've got something that's actually working. Cool. And I think that's all I'm going to do for this particular demo. There was a lot that went on in there. I had some successes, I had some failures, and but I have something that actually works, and I can just create as many platforms as I want. Now these aren't really cool looking, but again, I'm just trying to experiment and play around and create a runner. And that's all I have at the moment for this experiment. Hey, in this particular experiment, I created an array, and in that array I stored a platform, and I created the platform, and then in that platform array I'm able to get an array or get the game object out of the array, create that on the screen, and then have that platform move, and then when it gets so far off the screen, then I destroy it. And then I created a couple extra platforms, and now you can see that I have the platforms being generated, and I've created 3 different platforms, and then those are being randomly pulled and created on screen. There's a lot that happened in that particular experiment. Some of it was good, some of it was bad, but we have the basis of a runner going now. And in the extension of this particular experiment, I'm going to go ahead and use Mixamo to add a character to the screen. And again, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and that little bell icon down there so you know when the next video is available. And until next time, keep creating.